Question 4.
How did you use new media technologies in the construction and research, planning and evaluation stages?
Well, Louis, in the research stages, we heavily used Web 2.0 in order to gain background knowledge into current music videos, such as their conventions, and also knowledge into which audiences tend to watch these types of videos and which genres.
We used websites such as YouTube and Vivo, TasteKid and Last.fm to find these out. We would go on websites such as TasteKid and type in the song that we were using, Ain't No Rest for the Wicked by Cage the Elephant, and it came up with a number of bands that are very similar to them. So just look below on my blog and you'll see the TasteKid screenshot.
Yes, you will.
YouTube and Vivo, I mentioned earlier, they were very useful, particularly because they have suggestion bars. So whilst we were looking through videos in the research stages, we were looking at music videos, sort of looking at the conventions of them, and on the suggestion bar to the side it would offer up bands that are very similar to the one we were watching, and that was very helpful because it then gave us a whole load of other bands from the same genre to look at, and from that we drew conventions of what bands were like, the images they like to use, and we built up an overall sort of idea of what we were going to make.
On Last.fm you could research into the type of artists, and you would get lists of similar artists which were either highly similar or with very little similarity, and so it allowed us to maybe pick a song from a band that was less similar and see where they went wrong, whether they were like a big hit or not very big and stuff like that.
Moving on to the planning stages. In planning we used a lot of new media technologies, for example Android phones. We used applications such as WhatsApp or BBM on Blackberries to stay in touch and communicate, and that helped us out a lot when we were planning because we could send ideas to each other even if we weren't sort of working or in school or anything. It sort of created a very organic idea because we kept on coming up with ideas going, oh, I'd like to add this to what we've already got, so we text each other or say it to each other, and then we sort of built up an idea over time, and it began to become something.
Also with BBM, because it's like in real time, you can see when the person's read it, when they're like replying and things like that, which also made it easier when giving back and forward ideas as to, like, usually it's quite frustrating if you've sent something and you don't get a reply quite quickly, whereas on BBM it's like real time, so you get it back really quickly.
In terms of thinking up our treatment, we went back to the internet and used sites such as Blogger and Scribd. This allowed us to put our ideas onto the internet, and then the other person could access that immediately, and we used that to build up our treatment, which we eventually delivered to the rest of the class and to the teacher. We came up with our initial ideas over Skype. We used a video conference when we were both at our computers at home, and that allowed us not to be in school but to have the same atmosphere and come up with ideas in a professional environment. The
face-to-face communication, where it's easier to put across what you're trying to say rather than in text where you might miss out a crucial piece of information. And also with our treatment, putting it onto Blogger, we used Scribd, which allows you to put Word documents into a internet format, which made it easier for us, not having to type it up all over again. It was just there in one place.
Moving on to production, we had a new camera this time. Here it is.
Which was HD!
It's a Sony one, and it can film in 1080p, which was very nice because we actually had very nice looking imagery when we put it back onto the computer, so that was great.
We also liked how we got a lesson in how to work the manual settings on it, so we could do lots of focus pulls and make the visuals more exciting and things like that.
We also, for the first time, we had actual studio lighting. This is the first project we've actually done that, and it was very exciting to sort of try out the different lighting. There was a number of times where we used lens flares. We haloed the characters by getting the light behind them so it sort of shone through. That was very interesting to work with.
And it was a good learning experience because our first few shoots we weren't happy with our lighting, and so we had to keep building on it until we were 100% happy with it, which we feel we are in the final piece.
Yep.
In the production, we used the new version of Premiere Pro, which was
CS4.
CS4.
It allowed us to colour grade the piece a lot better than previous years. I've been allowed to play around with the sort of colour wheel. There's 3 wheels, and it allows you to select the mid-tones, the low tones, the highlights, stuff like that. It allows you to get the image to look very... there's a lot of power you have over the image. You can make 2 that are completely different lit look exactly the same, and that was very helpful, seeming as though on many of our shoots our lighting wasn't particularly amazing, and Premiere Pro allowed us to get that correct. Yeah. In terms of products that aren't the main project, so the album cover and the website, we relied heavily on the new Photoshop, the CS5, and we learned a lot of new things about that. I haven't personally used it a lot, and this was the first project where I actually got to get into the swing of things, and I feel we produced a nice album cover. We used lots of effects, for instance the cutout effect, which we use on the backdrop and on the band members, and that makes them look like cartoons. That was very fun to use, and I found that very interesting.
And as well, on one of our photo shoots with the band, one of our members couldn't make it, so we had to do an extra individual shoot with him, and we got to grips with photoshopping images together, making it look like they were all there at one time, which was quite interesting because we've never had that before. Like, with this project we heavily relied on other people, and so the Photoshop made it so much easier that we didn't have to completely rearrange a shoot. We could just work with what we had and put it together and make it look professional.
For instance, on the album cover up there on our blogs, Michael, who is the one in yellow,
on the left,
he was playing guitar as the Joker. He wasn't actually at the photo shoot, and he's actually just been put over. You would never have guessed.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of building the website, we used a new site called Wix. Philippa, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it was quite difficult at first to get to grips with. But then you have to completely build it from scratch. You get like templates and things like that. But we managed to personalise it quite well and make it link in with the rest of the band image by putting lots of cool colours on it and putting the same background as what we had on the album cover to link it all together, which Wix allowed us to do. And also it acted as like the hub for all 3 of our products, so it had to have loads of information and everything, and it was really good in that it allowed you to upload so many photos and things like that, which was quite big for our project, seeing as in the video and the album cover the image of our band was quite masked, so the website really needed to like show it across the image, their like actual faces and things like that. So we had a whole page with like multiple albums of photo shoots, and we had images on every page, and in our audience feedback as well they all said it was really visual and eye-catching with lots of things to look at, which Wix allowed us to do.
In terms of our evaluation and how we use new media products, for example, we're using a camera to record our response now. We mentioned Blogger before. We're relying heavily on that because our entire project is condensed onto Blogger, and that's of course how you're seeing this now. We put surveys out through the internet, different survey websites. We got people to log on, sort of give us feedback, and eventually we put that back onto Scribd, and we've posted that onto the blog here.
We also recorded the audience reaction at the screening of all the music videos, which was helpful when just trying to look at not just our focus group but a broader audience.
Yeah, it was nice to see the reactions of people as well. It's very important to understand how your audience reacts whilst watching it, because
for the first time as well.
And then you can see how different parts have been effective, where people have laughed, where people have chuckled, and at what points people have lost attention. It's always good to see that, so in future we can know what parts to edit better and stuff like that.
Yeah, for instance with ours, the ending was a bit confusing as to what actually happened and where it ended.
There's a bit of a stalled clap where people sort of go, oh, and then there's more, and then they finally collapse us.
So the video allowed us to see this and write it in our evaluation as something we would like to improve, if done again. Blogger apps for Android phones on our phones, so we could post on the move, on the way to school, if there were no computers in the media block. We could always be posting and constantly updating our blogs.